Welcome to Sweden. Welcome to the
Thanks.
fourth edition of the Data Innovation Summit here in Stockholm.
Thank you for having me.
We are pleased to have you and Skyscanner joining us. I think it's the second time. Okay, so before we go on, please tell us more about yourself, your background.
Sure, yeah. So I've been a data scientist at Skyscanner for about 6.5 years now, so quite a long time there. I've worked in various teams there, so like I've been in marketing and growth, in the business side, on the product side, and now I'm doing a lot more on the kind of data engineering side of things. So like, how do we get the data in? How do we deal with large volumes? So I've learned a lot during that time. Before that, I did a whole bunch of different things. I worked in the oil industry. I worked at the BBC for a couple of years. But it's always been the same kind of stuff, like data and computers and numbers. So like it's been a lot of fun.
Many industries, but data still.
Always data.
Great.
I love it.
So that means you have plenty of insights from its usage.
Yeah.
Okay. Even customer-centric data science, and for where you come, your industry, it's actually all about that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about, you presented about customer-centric data science today, and so what does that actually mean, and how do you get your data strategy right so you can enable a proper customer-centric view?
So all that customer-centric data science means is it just means that all of our customers are different, and we should think of them as distinct people. Like that's a very simple statement, but it has some quite big implications. So you need to be able to think about, how am I going to store that data? How am I going to make sure that it's at the right level of granularity? It can be quite a large data set, so like, how am I going to access that? And then also, like, instead of being like just simple reporting aggregation that you're dealing with, you're getting a much richer description of your customer. So like, how are you able to embed that richness within your business? How are you able to make better decisions and all that sort of stuff? So really thinking about customers as individuals, it helps a lot, but it's really complicated and a lot of interesting decisions that you need to make.
Yeah. Even today's hype around machine learning, artificial intelligence is both good and bad.
Yeah.
Because on one side you have all of these successful implementation strategies, technologies that you can use to ease the process inside the company. On the other hand, some people's expectations are more like skeptic on what actually machine learning can achieve in real life. So what are some of the challenges when it comes to machine learning, as it is a very important part of your industry?
So that's a really good question. I think what the real challenge is now is, like a few years ago, if you had a data scientist, they made a model on their laptop, then that was going to be good enough. You know, like that was incredible progress. But as the industry is changing, like it's no longer enough just to have a data scientist or like a data science team. The real challenges are now quite practical ones about like, how do we get the data, how do we store it, how do we get it to the right place at the right time, how do we train a model, how do we deploy a model, monitor it, and all that sort of stuff. So really the challenge is more about, how do you get that data science expertise, and how do you integrate it with the rest of the business? So like, how do you get data scientists working well with engineers, with product teams and stuff like that? That's the big challenge just now, of how to integrate it and make sure that you're not siloed off to one side.
Thank you. What are some of the data science techniques to understand the implicit signals that your customers are giving you, and use those signals to provide a personalized experience? Yeah.
So like that's a really good application of data science, because every time that your customer uses your product, they're not saying to you explicitly, I like this thing, I don't like this thing that you've done, but they're very vague and implicit signals that they're giving you. And that's something that data science is really good at dealing with, is like vague and unstructured data. You can get a data scientist and they can work with that data to try and extract the valuable parts of it. One of my favorite techniques for dealing with that is a thing called embeddings, where instead of taking the entire very large and very sparse data set of like every single user, every single item, you compress it down and you train a neural network to figure out, like, instead of saying every single customer, we just describe a customer as maybe like 50 or 100 characteristics that
pick up only those.
Yeah. And then what you get at the end of that, it's not just a really good model for predicting what customers like, but it's also, you've got a very nice, concise description of what types of products you have and what types of customers you have. So you've really squeezed down the problem. You made it a really nice one to solve there. I like embeddings a lot. So.
Yes. So according to Forbes, again this year, the key technology will be machine learning and artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, expertise, what is your prediction for the near future? We always say near future because everything is changing
it's
so rapidly.
I think so. Like that Forbes thing is saying like it's the future. That's where the technology is going. I think that we're already there. Like a lot of what we see is like some of the really exciting applications of AI and machine learning are already here.
Yes.
So like, one of my favorite ones that I hear about just now is there are radiographers working with artificial intelligence systems. They're able to boost their identification of things like tumors by multiple percentage points and save lives because of the artificial intelligence. So we're already there. AI is already making a difference. The real thing that we need to focus on now is like how do we get that more evenly distributed throughout society, so that everybody gets to work with AI, and it's how do we take that knowledge that people are learning in small pockets and get it out into every industry, every company, so that we can all benefit from it and get really exciting results that way.
Great, Ewan, it was my pleasure. Thank you very much for being part of the data innovation and for conducting this interview with us.
Thanks very much for having me. It's been great fun.